When we think of the SCP Foundation, we imagine dangerous SCP monsters. However, there are exceptions. Some anomalies appear as girls, with many of them being young and innocent looking. In this video, we present you the top 10 girls in the SCP Foundation. Number 10. SCP-2396. Object Class Euclid. SCP-2396 is a female humanoid that appears normal, with the exception of her naturally pink hair and eyes. The words Mrs. Sweetie from Little Misters by Dr. Wondertainment are tattooed along her left thigh. Also, SCP-2396 seems to require a constant supply of sugar, and when denied such intake, she claims to undergo great pain. But when 2396 is fueled with sugar, any male individual within 50 yards expresses a strong desire to leave and distance themselves as far away from the anomaly as possible. Also, any male individuals brought in direct contact with 2396 undergo a diabetic coma, and the girl claims this is to keep nasty brothers and their friends away. Also, within 6 kilometers of her location, instances of SCP-2396-A will appear, which are anomalous pieces of candy. And of course, 2396-A are harmless to females, but when the candy is ingested by a male, he will be transformed into an instance of SCP-2396-B. As such, the individual's flesh, body fluids, and bones are converted into candy. These instances take the form of a large humanoid, and sometimes even unicorns. And once a male has been fully converted, he will make his way towards SCP-2396 and will attempt to breach containment. Also, these entities show a strong resistance towards trauma and exhibit abnormal strength. And finally, 2396-B entities will attack any male individual in their line of sight, and in contrast, will follow any commands given by a female individual, especially from SCP-2396. Of course, this subject was interviewed, and when she was asked about the 2396-B instances, she said that boys always make a big stink of things when they wanna get a girl's attention. Next up, she was inquired about her unicorns, and in response, she said that they're awesome, and said that you can eat them once you're finished. And finally, when asked about her past, she revealed that she's a girl's toy, and that Dr. Wondertainment didn't like it when boys broke their sister's toys, which is why he made her unbreakable and made it so that boys can't come near her. And of course, we understand why 2396 is so bizarre. She is a creation of Dr. Wondertainment after all. Number 9. SCP-706. Object Class Euclid. 706 is a little girl whose skin is comprised of porcelain, with the exception of small areas around its joints. This layer is fragile due to its thickness and can crack or break when impacted, or even with excessive movement. SCP-706 is capable of regenerating this skin layer at a rate consistent with normal skin growth. However, in order to regenerate skin, SCP-706 must consume ceramic materials. Also, 706 will compulsively maintain its appearance, typically involving looking at itself in mirrors and using makeup to adjust its looks, and if denied the opportunity to inspect and adjust its appearance, SCP-706 will become distressed and incooperative. The girl was recovered from a household after reports of domestic violence. A camera within the residence recorded audio of the incident, revealing that the girl's father came home drunk and aggressive. He was upset with SCP-706 and her mother, which led to a dispute, and eventually, a gun was pulled out, and gunshots were heard. Of course, SCP-706 was interviewed to understand how she gained her anomalous properties. The girl claims it all started with her mother's doll collection, which the mother apparently loved. The girl says she wanted to be like the dolls, because she wanted her mother to love her just as much as she loved the doll collection. SCP-706 also states that the dolls don't cry and don't need to be taken care of. And if she was like a doll, then her parents wouldn't have to fight anymore. And to top things off, since her containment, SCP-706 has become increasingly detached and unresponsive to personnel. As we see, the fact that SCP-706 is made of porcelain and can easily break her skin, and the fact that the girl is mentally broken as a result of the domestic violence seem to match quite well. This beautiful metaphor certainly earns SCP-706 a place amongst the best thorough SCPs in the Foundation. Number 8. SCP-134 Object Class Safe. SCP-134 is a small girl that seems normal in most respects and has all the biological requirements of a human. However, where SCP-134's eyes should be are two black pits covered by a transparent membrane similar to a human eye's membrane. However, these membranes are about 200 times more resilient than they should be. In normal lighting conditions, the eyes appear completely black, but in darkness, faint lights have been seen within. Further study and light amplification revealed that the lights are actually stars and galaxies, though to date, no astronomical formations have been recognized. SCP-134's description contains a lot of redacted information. However, her eye sockets are called local termini, and the intergalactic space seen in her eyes is called remote termini, implying that her eyes may be some sort of wormhole to interstellar space. It is also stated that the remote termini periodically change location. Despite these astounding properties, SCP-134 is totally unaware of its unnatural condition. The only other abnormality is the fact that SCP-134 shows behavioral symptoms similar to these seen in high-functioning autistic children. The girl has been nicknamed Stella, which of course fits her description quite well, though for some reason, calling the girl by this nickname results in a reprimand. Unfortunately, SCP-134 hasn't volunteered any information regarding her identity and was recovered from an orphanage, so we can't learn anything about her origin from the caretakers. Regardless, this goes to show how bizarre the SCP world really is, because in the SCP Foundation, even a girl's eyes can be a wormhole to interstellar space. Number 7. SCP-040 Object Class Euclid. SCP-040 is an 8-year-old girl that is capable of manipulating living matter, modifying organisms and creating new ones. The girl is conscious of this effect and uses it willingly, but requires a lot of time and concentration. Her creations, called SCP-040-1, usually act similar to domesticated pets and are loyal to the girl. The appearance of 040-1 instances will vary. Some retain their original appearance, though the majority bear no resemblance. However, despite her potentially dangerous capabilities, the girl is cooperative and non-aggressive, and has thus been allowed to keep a few of her creations in containment. One of them is an organism capable of changing size, shape, and color that serves as the girl's outer clothing. The second one is a spherical organism capable of light that can also replicate a wide variety of musical patterns. And the third pet is a four-legged organism covered in fur that can climb vertical surfaces. In an interview, the girl stated that before her containment, she was looked after by a man called Mr. Green, who claimed that the girl didn't have any parents. The girl also said that, quote-unquote, they were often looked after by nurses, implying that she may have been in some sort of facility. As we see, this interview raises a few questions. What did the girl mean with they? And were there more children in the facility with similar properties? And what kind of facility was she in? Unfortunately, the SCP-040 interview doesn't answer any of these, and we are left wondering if somewhere on Earth an organization similar to the SCP Foundation exists that contains anomalous children. One thing is certain though, both SCP-040 and its properties are definitely interesting enough to earn it a spot amongst the best thorough SCPs in the Foundation. Number 6. SCP-353. Object Class Keter. SCP-353 appears to be a normal human female of average physical capacity and average intelligence. However, the subject has the capacity to siphon infectious viral and bacterial agents from her environment, nurture and store them within her body, and then release them to devastating pandemic effect. Also, her mood directly affects the radius of infections recorded, with increased emotional states leading to massively increased potency. SCP-353 seems to be immune from the symptoms of said agents. However, this is only the case when she is passively storing them, because the moment she begins to nurture, manipulate, and change these agents, her body begins to manifest symptoms. As such, she can't alter the bacteria indefinitely, because the symptoms will either become severe or will simply annoy her. Examinations have shown that the subject is able to store almost any infectious agent within her body, though she is only capable of changing agents that are capable of surviving within the human body. As of the writing of this report, SCP-353's blood contains traces of over 1,000 different agents, including HIV, EBOLA, 67 different strains of the common cold, herpes, the bubonic plague, malaria, and SARS, and at least 30% of these agents were previously unknown to the medical community prior to her discovery, meaning that many of them were engineered by SCP-353 herself. She was originally encountered in South Africa, where she was trying to pick up different strains of the Ebola virus, and of course this raised suspicion, and the subject was contained. To date, her identity is unknown, as she gives no name other than Vector and refuses to answer any questions about her past. Also, she claims to have traveled the Western world seeking greater infections for her collection, and when asked why, she would not give a response aside from "because I can." And unfortunately, despite the fact that she has invented numerous viruses, making her an invaluable medical resource, she has shown a total disregard for human life and extreme narcissism. But still, the fact that she can invent viruses definitely makes her a part of the most interesting SCP Girls. Number 5. SCP-347. Object Class Euclid. SCP-347 is a young adult female, standing 164 centimeters tall and 55 kilograms in weight. But despite being a seemingly average woman between the ages of 19 and 25, 347's entire body is completely invisible. Also, testing has confirmed that she has normal eyesight, despite the fact that the cones and rods of her eyes must be visible in order for a human to see. SCP-347 describes herself as being an average female of mixed race, with brown eyes and wavy black hair, and refers to herself as Claudia, although it is highly likely that this is a false name taken from the actor Claude Rains, the lead of The Invisible Man. As such, her real identity remains unknown. Aside from her invisibility, SCP-347 has no unusual traits other than an immense skill in picking locks and theft, and 347 has been observed swallowing small objects in order to turn them invisible. SCP-347 was contained after rumors about a poltergeist inhabiting an abandoned house came to the Foundation's attention, and after infrared cameras revealed that she still gave off a human heat signature, 347 was quickly contained. Right after, this woman began to show signs of mental instability and violent outbursts, as well as compulsive theft and bouts of refusing to speak for several days on end. Traditional counseling methods helped reduce the severity of these issues, and it's theorized that with more time, SCP-347 may heal from the trauma of the years of not being seen and being completely alone. As such, it has been suggested that 347 should be introduced to other SCPs, as she really enjoys human contact, especially when she isn't looked at as weird. As such, she has had interactions with other SCPs, the most interesting of which was with SCP-542, an anomaly that appears similar to Frankenstein's monster, because on one occasion, after the two SCPs escaped their containment, they began traveling together, and on the way, things got a little romantic. So thankfully, after years or maybe decades of living alone, without being visible, SCP-347 got some human interaction, and of course, being completely invisible, 347 is definitely one of the most interesting SCP Girls. Number 4. SCP-166's original version. Object Class Safe. It's impossible to make a video about the girls within the Foundation without mentioning 166. This is because this anomaly is a fan favorite, but unfortunately, it is also controversial. This is because she is a female in her late teens that induces an unpleasant effect on men, because upon establishing visual contact with her, 100% of male test subjects became physically attracted to her and attempted to reach the girl, and in 70% of these test subjects, the impulse faded after being taken away from SCP-166, but in the remaining 30%, the desire turned into obsession, resulting in violent attempts to regain access to her. SCP-166 was originally retrieved from a convent, and according to the nuns, she was delivered there by a young woman of indistinguishable features who claimed that 166 was the offspring of an elder creature of great power. SCP-166 was then raised in the convent, and the nuns took special care of her because of her special properties. However, one day, a young man sneaked inside to visit one of the novices and accidentally caught sight of SCP-166, and a few days later, having become obsessed with the girl, he became violent and attacked the convent, attempting to gain access to 166. But luckily, he was neutralized, the Foundation was alerted, and the girl was contained. As you can probably imagine, SCP-166's properties have and continue to cause her a large amount of distress, and because of this, contact between her and any other male is strictly prohibited. Of course, 166's properties are controversial. Some people were appalled by the girl's effects, and others believed that this is exactly what the Foundation should be about, shocking and disturbing anomalies. But in the end, because of this controversy, SCP-166's entry was rewritten. But regardless, 166, especially the original version, remains a fan favorite. Number 3. SCP-191. Object Class Safe. 191 is a little girl that was the test subject of several experimental surgeries. As a result, 80% of her face has been removed, and a universal transceiver has been installed instead. The girl has a built-in air filtration device, and as a result, she is incapable of speech. Furthermore, a device has been planted into her forearm, which contains interfaces like USB, Ethernet, Firewire, and others. A processor has been implanted in the brain, allowing SCP-191 to read and write computer data. Also, the child's lungs, heart, and blood vessels have been replaced with mechanical analogs, which can allow 191's body to be restarted after death. Unsurprisingly, the girl avoids eye contact, and all attempts to induce a cheerful mood have proven fruitless. However, despite these signs, SCP-191 is still in good mental health and claims she's feeling fine. The girl seems to have no memory of her past before the operations, but in the experiment logs, we see a few hints. When connected to a computer running Microsoft Paint, 191 was able to create indistinguishable copies of any photograph. And after the test, the girl continued to draw, and when questioned about this, stated that she had not realized she was still drawing. One of the pictures depicted SCP personnel pointing guns at a man that is about to commit suicide. This man was later identified as the doctor that had conducted the surgeries. Another painting showed an adult and a child trick-or-treating, and the girl is wearing makeup similar to the makeup worn by the main character in Frankenstein. So we see that even though SCP-191 has no conscious recollection of her past, she can unconsciously remember episodes of her time before the operation. Unfortunately, the logs don't reveal enough information to piece together the whole story, but it is possible that she may have had some sort of connection to the doctor. And even though the story of SCP-191 is definitely tragic, we must include her in the top girl SCPs in the Foundation. Number 2. SCP-053, Object Class Euclid. Let's be real, we all saw this one coming. SCP-053, the little girl that kept the hard-to-destroy reptile calm, and even played around with 682. And even though this isn't the first time the lizard has been friendly towards an anomaly, as we've seen from the SCP-682 and 079 interaction, it is the first and probably the last time an innocent-looking little girl will play around with the reptile. But of course, SCP-053's looks are deceptive, because when a human makes physical or eye contact with her, or simply remains around her for more than 10 minutes, this individual will rapidly become paranoid and homicidal, and as a result, he or she will proceed to attack the girl. However, as this person attempts to injure 053, they will suffer a massive heart attack and expire in seconds. And to top things off, on the occasion that SCP-053 has been injured, she has regenerated from the damage in seconds. But the reason why SCP-053 is on this list isn't necessarily because of the result from the 682 experiment, but rather because of the girl's creepy backstory. This is because many people believe SCP-053 to be one of the children of the Scarlet King, and this isn't without reason, because the young girl matches the description of the first bride's children fairly well. And of course, the fact that SCP-682 didn't attack her could indicate a deeper connection between the two, such as if they were siblings. And of course, if 053 is a child of the Scarlet King, which of course is one of the most powerful deities within the Foundation, then she is definitely a part of the most interesting SCP Girls. Number 1. SCP-2599, Object Class Euclid. SCP-2599 is a girl of Korean descent. The child's primary anomalous effect is the fact that she is unable to disobey any direct commands. This effect has no known limits, and 2599 has followed orders including self-harm, violence towards others, and more. Her secondary anomalous effect is her inability to fully carry out any command. She fulfills most aspects of a command, but is unable to complete all requested components of a command. However, this is not motivated out of rebellion, because SCP-2599 has been unable to complete commands even when it has wished to do so. Once she is ordered to perform something, she is no longer capable of successfully completing it in the future, even if she was previously capable of doing so. However, this effect can be overridden with a successive command. But perhaps the most interesting thing about 2599 are some of the experiments performed. On one occasion, the girl was ordered to attack SCP-682 until it is 200% dead. The girl fought 682 for 42 minutes, at the end of which 3 of the lizard's limbs had been severed, its thorax had been crushed, and both its eyeballs had been ruptured. The girl then seized the lizard's head in preparation for ripping it off. In response, 682 said, "Kill me, you sack of organs, do it." The girl then immediately released the reptile and stood still until the girl was taken away. And in another test, SCP-2599 was given a command that consisted of a paradox. Immediately after, the temperature in the room was raised several degrees, Korean-speaking rabbits appeared out of nowhere, and the floor was converted into a blanket. This went on until the girl was ordered to fall asleep. It is clear that SCP-2599 is a unique case of a reality bender, one that is very powerful but can only fulfill orders. As for the SCP-682 test, it is believed that the Kill Me order took precedence over the abstract attack until it is 200% dead, which led to the outcome we mentioned. So as we see in the SCP Foundation, anomalies must not be judged by their looks, because as we saw with SCP-2599 in the SCP Wiki, a little girl can almost kill the hard-to-destroy reptile. Please make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. And as always, we will see you in the next video.